Hello, welcome. I am Kim from thatsweetraw.com. If you haven't met me before, and if you are tuning in again, thank you. I wanted to do a video today about throat tension and vocal strain and vocal fatigue because I know so many singers are struggling with this. They are feeling despondent and frustrated and they don't really know what to do about it. And it can be such a stressful and scary experience as a singer. And I would know. I remember when I was in my early to mid 20s, I would be performing 3 to 4 hour sets with my Motown band and later on in a rock duo and performing in musical theatre shows as well. And my biggest hurdle was throat tension and then fatigue. And at first it started off maybe like a little tickle, or I could feel kind of that I would nudge certain notes and it was barely there. But once my voice started to get tired, I would really then have to push it to get it over the line to actually finish out the set, to finish the show. And I couldn't understand why it was happening because I had been having singing lessons since I was 11 years old. And I thought surely that was enough to prevent this kind of tension and fatigue. And unfortunately, it wasn't. And I'm going to share with you why. I'm going to share with you the 3 things that I really wish that I had known then that I know now. And these are the 3 most common root causes when it comes to tension and strain and pushing our voices. But first of all, I just wanted to say, if you are experiencing this yourself, please don't feel shame around it. Strain and tension do not mean that you are a bad singer or that you don't know what you're doing or that, there's something completely wrong with you and you should just give up. And I remember worrying about that myself. But it simply means that there is opportunity for more efficiency and freedom. And I hope that you get some insights from this video as to where those opportunities lie. So, number 1. The first one is that you're clinging to shoulds or rules. So there are often things that we hear from teachers or from YouTube or from other singers that we take as gospel. We take them as rules, things that simply must always happen in order for us to be singing right. And unfortunately, what I find when I'm working with singers is that a lot of the time they have been misunderstood or their understanding of the concept isn't quite robust enough to get the full picture. So an example of this for me, I have 2 examples that had a really negative impact on me and my voice, which was you need to raise the soft palate and you need to have forward placement. And my idea of raising the soft palate was lifting it so high that it created tongue tension, which I would also then feel as being connected to my throat, so feeling tension at my throat. And I thought that I was doing something wrong if my voice wasn't always resonating forward, always wasn't feeling that forward placement. And so what I was doing without my knowledge was using my tongue or my jaw to actually push the sound forward because that's where I thought that it needed to be, but I didn't understand that that's how I was ensuring that would always happen. So if this is ringing any bells for you, please ask yourself, is there anything that I believe absolutely must happen when I sing? And especially when it comes to projection, resonance, and mouth shape. And what happens if I do an experiment and I let go of the need to make it happen? And it's a great experiment. It's a great way to figure this stuff out and figure out if this is maybe what's going on for you. And it's not that these instructions are necessarily wrong. It's often that we haven't learned the most organic and efficient way to get that result. And so we are overcompensating, but we don't realize that's what's happening. Which then leads me to number 2. And number 2 is there is a gap. So this one crops up most often when it comes to high notes, especially if we're going from low to high, or when we are starting to add power. So getting into that very big, belty, waily, cally, chest dominant mix, whatever you want to call it, territory. We usually have a pretty good idea of what we want something to sound like, although we all would probably describe them using slightly different vocabulary. But if you know that the bridge of a certain song is to be sung at high volume, and high intensity, you are going to do whatever it takes to ensure that sound is what comes out of your mouth. And the problem is when you're not creating that pitch or that power with fuel, if you are not fueling it in the right way. And that's when the relationship between how you're using your breath and the coordination of your vocal cords is not what is required for the sound that you want to make. And therefore, that's why I call it a gap. So you say or think that you want to create a high, powerful sound that requires this level of fuel. But in fact, you're actually giving it this much. So then there is a gap. And most singers, instead of letting the sound come out that this much fuel would create, they'll push using other ways, namely their tongue and their jaw and engaging muscles in their neck and throat to hit this intensity, this volume, this pitch, right? And this is how we fill the gap generally, which leads to tension and instability and strain and fatigue and sometimes cracking as well. And it also makes us feel like we're really struggling to reach the note. And I tend to describe this as like reaching up to a higher shelf. You're on your tiptoes and you can kind of barely reach it. And some of my students say that they feel like they hit a ceiling, that they're barely kind of getting up there. And what we want to do instead is feel like we're reaching out. The shelf is at such an easy height. It's right in front of us. And that means that we need to either change our expectations to suit how we're actually fueling the sound, so sing it here, or learn how to fuel it differently, learn how to intensify it in a really effortless, efficient, free way. And sometimes that is about getting a better understanding of how to use your breath. Sometimes it's learning how to approach notes in a more natural, expressive way, which actually changes how your chords then behave and react. And sometimes it's all connected to point number 3, which is you're feeling scared, insecure, or unable to truly own your voice. The fact is, our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about ourselves and our voice are probably the biggest deciding factor when it comes to strain and tension and fatigue. And it's those little voices in our head that whisper, if it's not perfect, then you're going to embarrass yourself and you should probably just give up. Or if it's not impressive and powerful, then you've failed and you're not really any good and don't have any talent. Or the fearful question of, what if not everybody likes my voice? What if not everybody likes me? What if I'm criticized or laughed at or judged? Can you already get a sense of how those voices would have an impact on your ability to express yourself freely? So the inner perfectionist will either do anything to hit the notes so they don't go off pitch, creating that gap, creating that tension, or be so scared to make a mistake that they will hold back, both of which result in, you guessed it, strain, pushing. The inner overachiever will do anything to make sure that that chorus gets the big belty sound that it is supposed to have, that it sounds damn impressive, including, straining to get there. And our inner people pleaser is usually so concerned that others are going to deem them not good enough, or that they're taking up too much space, or they're arrogant, or they're an imposter, that they will hesitate. So they will sometimes slow down the way they use their air, or they will hold it back altogether. Sometimes kind of dipping their toe in the water, making sure that they get a note before they use their breath to fuel it, which means we feel strain. And unfortunately, often we stop at diagnosing the physical reason why we're experiencing strain, but that doesn't get to the cause. So yes, maybe your tongue is retracting, but why? And yes, your jaw might be clenching, but why? What is the doubt or insecurity that is running behind the scenes? The thought that your body is actually responding to, it's putting on the brakes or it's forcing something out for a reason. And I have heard singers' voices completely transform once we've been able to free them from their inner fears and their inner dialogue, and to engage in a conversation with those in a really different way, coming from a place of compassion. And it's not just eliminating strain, but it means they get to experience more resonance, more fluidity, more flexibility, more warmth, and more power, but with ease. And that is why I'm so passionate about this work with the thoughts and beliefs and emotions, the nervous system and the body, making sure that singers know that technique is one great piece of the puzzle. But there is a whole world playing out between your ears that has much more impact on your expression than you realize. So if you have an inkling that your voice is being held back, tightened, or pushed by thoughts that you can't seem to shake, please just know you don't have to stay stuck there. It's not the way it always has to be. And I created my Embody Your Voice program for exactly this reason. Here's an invitation for you. I created it to liberate singers like you from those stories so that you can express yourself more freely and more authentically and feel more comfortable in your own skin. So you feel like you belong no matter where you are sharing your voice. So you remember that your voice is a gift for you first, and that all that trying is actually getting in the way of the sound that you so desperately want to create. And the singers that come to the final Embody Your Voice call are never the same as the ones who walked in. And you can check out their testimonials on the course page on my website to get a bit more insight into how and what that looks like. I'll put the link below. And at first, for me, it was actually hard to accept feedback like it was life-changing. And then I recognized how true it really was, because the singers who have moved through this experience are taking up space in new ways. They are finally enjoying sharing their voice with others. They're more confident in expressing their needs and their desires. They're accessing deeper layers of emotion and therefore honesty in their performance. They're writing and recording music again. They're singing for the pure joy of it again. And they're far, far kinder to themselves, which creates incredible ripple effects in their own lives and in the lives of people around them. Because when you stop shrinking, it gives others permission to do the same. So if you want the experience of singing to feel beautiful again, to stop feeling so self-conscious and instead to feel empowered to jump at more opportunities to share your voice, please check out Embody Your Voice. Doors are open now, and I would love to support you to remove the shackles and remind you that singing is supposed to make you feel more inspired, more creative, and more connected. And I know that for some of you, part of you is worried that it's not for you, that you will simply never be able to share your voice with conviction and authenticity, that you'll always be held back by your insecurity. But I've seen it happen over and over again. And it's not about level of experience or technical knowledge or how many lessons you've taken and with who. It's about wanting it badly enough for yourself, knowing that this is what makes you feel most alive, and that is why it is so important. So we start this weekend, and I will add the link below. Please sign up if you want to be part of an intimate group experience that is focused on reclaiming your expression with conviction. And we keep the group really small, so spots are very limited. But feel free to please reach out with any questions that you might have. I am here. And if it's exactly what you know you're ready for, I will see you there. And if you found this video on throat tension and fatigue useful, please let me know in a comment below. If you have questions about it, that's the space to put them to. And if there's someone in your life that you know that it could help, please go ahead and share it with them. Have an amazing week, and I will see you again soon.